So living abroad and adjusting to that doesn't necessarily get easier just because we figured it all out, even with the best laid plans. And trust, we planned. Okay, I had the spreadsheets and everything, so I get it. But it gets easier because you have certain tools and systems that you just put in place to make things easier, to help you adjust. So in this video, I want to share some of the tools that we use. Some of you might be like, duh, to some of them, and some of you might be like, oh, I haven't heard of that. I'm going to check it out. So let me know in the comments which ones you'll try. But I'm going to share some of the tools, the systems, mindset tools, shifts that we really implement to just make things a little bit easier adjusting to our life abroad, because it is an adjustment. And the reality is, when you're making a shift like this, you're leaving things behind, you're starting fresh in a lot of ways, you're starting new, you're coming into unfamiliar territory, or that could be unfamiliar territory where you are. It might be a new job, it might be a promotion, it might be starting school again, as an adult when you thought you were done with school. It might be just adjusting to new dynamics, family dynamics in your household, right? You had one kid, now you have two. You had no kids, now you have one. Like, all those things. What can we put into place to make life easier? Because there are things that are just going to feel unfamiliar, and there are things that are feel inconvenient. I say that with that kind of fervor because there have been things that have been inconvenient that we've had to figure out in the learning curve and adjusting. It's only been around 5 weeks or so. So let's get into some of the things that we use, some of the tools, mindset shifts, etc. So the first two I've mentioned in other videos, so I'm going to do a quick mention of those to kind of get them out of the way. These might be some of your dull ones, but some kind of language, if you're like living or moving abroad, thinking about moving abroad, some type of language translation app. I'm using Google Translate right now. I need to do some research and see if there's something better. If you know something better, let me know. It works, it does the job. I really try to rely on the Spanish that I know, but in some instances I really need to understand what you're telling me, and I'm missing some of the gist. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. So Google Translate I do use, and ITalki, which I mentioned in another video, and that's if you want to have a kind of a tutor from a country, right? I picked from Panama, but somebody might pick from Costa Rica, or somebody from Mexico or Colombia. So you get the dialect and the slang and the accents from that particular country. And so it's great, it's affordable. And so I use Google Translate, italki for language. And the other one for language, so this is where we get into new territory, that I really like if you kind of want a learning app, is language transfer. Shout out to my friend Tracy, who put me onto language transfer. There's something about the simplicity of that app. There's something about listening to it and having to say it. There's something about how the I guess the instructor on the app thinks about language and how he conveys it, that things were clicking that didn't click in years of Spanish in school. So language transfer is an app that I really love, just for like learning the nuances of the language in a way that feels really organic. And the other two apps that I'll share that help make things easier, one might be another thing, but I'll talk to you about how I use it, which is the Notes app, right? A lot of us have it. If you have an iPhone, you have it. Even when I had an Android, I could download it, and my husband and I can use that. It's been really helpful in a shift, right? For us moving abroad and keeping our wits about us, it's been helpful to collaborate on things, right? So everything from the grocery list to the menu that we have for the week, we can collaborate on that, and you get a notification anytime somebody updates that shared note. And it helps us keep track of our to-dos, and we have plenty of to-dos because we're still adjusting. There's lots of logistics that have to get done, and so that's another way we use it. So the main way is food menu planning and grocery lists, in addition to like our to-do list. What do we need to do, and collabing on that. So shared notes has been great, and whether or not you're moving abroad, that's something great that you can use, so you could feel like you and your partner are teammates in running your household and keeping things going and staying abreast of what's going on. The other one is a money app called Debit and Credit. Similar thing, it lets us collab on our day-to-day finances. So we've used that back in the States. We still use it here. It really helps us. If anyone's out and buys anything, you just update it in the app. It has all our accounts in it so we can see what's in the account, all the balances, including our investment accounts. It also has a section for budgets, which I love for the variable things. So for things like groceries, eating out, entertainment, like shopping, for like household, what else? Well, transportation, because while we walk a lot, we still do take Ubers at times. So we have a budget for all those things. So to kind of stay on budget, it's great to have that there, because then we'll see like, okay, we kind of going over already and it's only going into month 2. We need to course correct for the rest of the month so we can stay within our budget. Or, oh, we're doing great, in this area. And then we can see where we're at the end of the month as well. So debit and credit is also a really great one that we enjoy in terms of practical apps. So that's a little bit for language transfer, ITalki, Google Translate, and then more practical apps for collaboration with your partner. So, or even if you don't want to collab with them, it's still great as an individual, but we definitely use it as a way to make sure that we both know what's going on up in here. So debit and credit, and we use the shared notes. So I want to talk about 3 kind of mindset tools, shifts, perspectives that keep us sane and just make things easier for us here in this transition, and really translates to any shift, major or quote unquote minor, that you're making in your life to kind of stay in a space where you're not as snippy or as quick to, pop off, as they say, because you kind of are going through some things. So one is when our plans kind of go up in smoke feels a little bit dramatic, but just flow with me. But like when we have a plan and this is what we think is going to happen and it doesn't happen that way, thinking about, okay, what is it that makes this shift worth it? This isn't how we wanted to go, but what makes it worth it? What can we learn? And I know that sounds a little cliche, so I'm gonna break it down in a specific example for us. When we were first coming here, we thought, okay, we're gonna like do this cool nomadic thing. Maybe we'll be there for 3 months. Maybe we'll be there for, we were like, what are we gonna do? Try to be all like floaty and crunchy about it. And we were like, we're gonna get an Airbnb. We're gonna stay in a few months in the city, and then we're gonna get an Airbnb in the suburbs and see how that is. And we had all these plans for how that was gonna go, not realizing that the timing of us coming to Panama was the start of the dry season. It's called the start of their kind of busy season, and so those Airbnb prices were like, what? They were high. It was not even financially sustainable for us to be able to do that. I was like, shoot. So then we had to actually look at like getting an apartment and like signing a lease, which felt for me very like stake in the ground when I was like, we're gonna be nomadic and do this, and this is how this is gonna go. And so I wasn't super gun ho about that idea, but I was like, if this is the thing that makes sense, I'm going to check this out. I'm open to it. Let's see what happens. And so yeah, we had to come, and then we're looking at apartments and we're signing a lease, and then so that and then just all of those logistical things. And that wasn't their original thought or the original vision. However, this is where the mindset thing comes in. I was like, okay, then I'm going to learn about this process in Panama. I'm going to learn about the process of renting a place in Panama. I'm going to learn about the logistics of, how they set up apartments, why it's set up like this, what's a typical building look like, what can I expect from something like that. And so I was like, okay, I embraced it, and it has been a really good learning experience for us. So embracing the pivot when you have to pivot because your plans did not pan out. That would, if I had to put it in a wrap it in a bow, that's how I'd wrap it. The other thing is specifically for living abroad that I did that I've never heard anyone talk about, even people that I follow, and that I think people could do if you're really wanting to nurture your friendships and your relationships, and life is life and you're not thinking about it, but inwardly you want to be able to nurture those a little better. I have visuals of my loved ones that are not here. I have pictures up of my mom, of course, which is a different situation, but my mom, my dad, my niece, my siblings, really tight friends, family that are in the States. I have visuals of that. I have it on the carousel on my computer. I have physical pictures. I'm a visual person, and this is not an out of sight, out of mind situation because I'm so busy doing things. This is okay, I see these people regularly in my house, in my apartment, and I'm thinking about, okay, let me reach out to so and so, right? Let me send a message. Let me send a voice note. Let me give them a call. It helps me be really intentional about continuing to nurture friendships in this season in my life, and really leaning into friendships being about the connection that we have and not about the proximity that we have to each other. And so having visual cues of people for whom the relationship you have with them you want to nurture and be intentional about. That was something that was really helpful to me. It was something that I was really adamant about. I do it for my daughter as well on her computer, and her screensaver has pictures of her friends as well. So I can be really helpful. And lastly, um, I don't even. Ooh, you ever write something and you're like, what is that? Oh, our phones. And that's not even my last one. I had another one, y'all. Just bear with me, okay? Because these are good because I don't hear them often. So we have a local phone, the local SIM, which means that when we're out and about, even if we don't have Wi-Fi, we have data. We can use our GPS. We can use the Uber apps, any apps we can access. We can get our, transportation, all the things. And we also have our other regular phones that we had in the States with our regular numbers that we can use on Wi-Fi with WhatsApp and things like that. And we only can really use them in the house. So I happened upon this lovely thing that I actually quite enjoy. My husband and I were just talking about how we like this yesterday. Actually, people might be listening and be like, "You like that?" I do, because you probably tried to call me when I was out and about. But when we're out, we're very present with being out. We are not really on our phone. Nobody's calling us. We're not talking on the phone, walking down the street, or talking on the phone in a restaurant or in a market, because people don't have our local really number. Usually they're calling us and using WhatsApp, and we can only use that on Wi-Fi with our US numbers in the place where we reside, or where there's Wi-Fi, but we don't always take both of our US phones with us, right? So it's actually refreshing to be out and not and know, like, we're together, so nobody needs to call us. When we're not together, that's different. But we both have the local number, so we can call. One's home and one's out walking someplace. But it's nice. And so encouraging those moments where you just don't utilize your phone, don't pick up the call unless it's an emergency, when you're out, and just experience wherever you are. Uh, whether it's here in the States, whatever you're doing, be where your feet are and experience where you are, which is a great thing. Um, back, I don't know what this says. Oh, it's the pictures of loved ones. I already said that one. In your handwriting, I just had to put some notes and some highlights because, I have a tendency to rein myself back in when I'm in conversation. But I already said that one. I'm already ahead of the game. Look at me. But I also couldn't read my handwriting, which sometimes is sad. But yeah, so those are my picks, and I know I've grouped them hopefully with more practical stuff, more mindset stuff that just helps us stay grounded in the midst of sometimes what feels like chaos, and definitely what feels like inconvenience, lack of familiarity, and all the things. And so I'll actually put a list of the things that I talked about down in the description as well, so you can see what's what there. And if any of these resonated with you that you want to try, because language transfer, for example, doesn't just have Spanish, it has many languages, some of which you may want to learn. So you may want to check that out. But again, oh, I should have said this in the beginning. This is not sponsored. I don't get anything for saying these things for you. This is just what I actually use in my everyday life that make things easier, make collab with my husband easier, and just give me a sense of I'm controlling the things that are within my control, and I'm staying on top of things as much as I can. And that makes me feel grounded. It gives me a sense of security, right, wherever I am, because okay, like things are not going to just fall through the cracks. They probably will a little bit, but for the most part, I got this. And so I'm sharing these so hopefully you also feel like you got this. So yeah, that is my share for this evening. I was just looking, these are this is the process. This is the lock process that I'm in. So y'all are also going on my lock process with me. This is a little aside, right? Because I'm like, I just mentioned that for those of you who know me prior, I used to have for like 14, 15 years, since the age of 15, I had very long traditional locks that cut my hair all the way off, and it was very, very short for like 12 years. And now I'm like, I'm trying something a little bit different, and I'm doing a second set of locks. I just made them a lot smaller. So we'll see how this goes. So thank you for being with me on that journey as well, and for this being on this journey with me too. If there is something that you want to try, if there's something that resonated with you in this video, this is more easy breezy, just sharing some tools. Let me know down below. If you like this video, hit that like button. Let me know what you would like more of. What you would like to hear more of mhm, what you would like to hear more of. And if you have a question about anything, let me know down in the comments below as well. And yeah, if you're feeling the vibe here, I'm here, Imani Aisha. I'm here making videos to really help us have relationships that feel good with ourselves, with our partners, and within our family dynamic amid navigating the inevitable challenges and changes of life. Life be life. And so whether you're family thinking of moving abroad like me, or moving abroad, or already moved abroad like us, whether you're just going through changes in your life right now in different seasons and you want something to change in your relationship and in your family dynamic, I'm here. And if that's your vibe, hit subscribe. Oh, I didn't I didn't know that was gonna slant rhyme. That's why I had a moment. Vibe, subscribe. No, it's a rhyme, not just a slant. But yeah, if that is your vibe, hit subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.